Jim Harbaugh, welcome aboard the Los Angeles. You have just been hired by the Los Angeles Chargers. The hype for the Chargers is finally real. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Jim Harbaugh getting hired by the Chargers, as this hire has been categorized as big-time news in the Los Angeles area. Jim Harbaugh is coming off of a national championship victory at Michigan, and he will be tasked with high expectations of a turnaround for the Chargers. Even though the Chargers had a record of 5-12 last season, their roster is considered to be extremely talented compared to other NFL teams. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Did the Chargers make a home run hire in Jim Harbaugh? Absolutely. Is that even a question? Of course the Los Angeles Chargers made a home run hire in Jim Harbaugh. There is no doubt in my mind that the Los Angeles Chargers just got the best coach on the market, because Jim Harbaugh is a proven winner at every level. You look at his tenure at San Diego State, you look at his tenure at Stanford, you look at his tenure at Michigan. So obviously we all know that Jim Harbaugh can win at the college level, but why is that relevant to the NFL level? Because he also won when he was on the NFL. When Jim Harbaugh was in the NFL, he went 44-19-1. In other words, he won almost 70% of his games. You know how hard it is to win over 50% of your games in the NFL? It's pretty hard. And for Jim Harbaugh to win 70% of his games, basically, very impressive stuff. And you got to remember that Jim Harbaugh took his teams to a championship game not once, not twice, but 3 times in each of his first 3 years. And don't tell me, oh, Jim Harbaugh, he had a great quarterback working alongside with him, because you know who his quarterbacks were? Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. For the people that don't know who Colin Kaepernick is, well, I gotta tell you that Colin Kaepernick turned out to be some woke social justice warrior after Jim Harbaugh left the San Francisco 49ers. But back when Colin Kaepernick actually cared about playing football, Colin Kaepernick was in a championship game, not once but twice, and Jim Harbaugh played a major role in the development of Colin Kaepernick. I thought Colin Kaepernick was a really good player during the days of Jim Harbaugh. I thought Jim Harbaugh maximized Colin Kaepernick's ability to be a good quarterback in the NFL, or at least getting him to care about the NFL. And then the other impressive part that he did for the San Francisco 49ers was getting Alex Smith to a championship game. That's really impressive in my mind, because not even Andy Reid managed to pull that off, and Andy Reid is an all-time great coach. Alex Smith was a huge bust prior to Jim Harbaugh coming to the San Francisco 49ers, and what happened? He fixed Alex Smith and turned Alex Smith into a decent starter in the National Football League. And you don't think Jim Harbaugh can do magic with Justin Herbert? This is the best quarterback Jim Harbaugh has ever had at any level, or at least that's the best quarterback he's had since Andrew Luck. Obviously, you look at the Los Angeles Chargers, how they're currently last place in the AFC West, but I don't believe that'll be the case for long, because we all know that Jim Harbaugh is capable of quick turnarounds. You look at his year 1 turnaround at Michigan, he turned them into a 10-win team. You look at Jim Harbaugh's year 1 turnaround at San Francisco, he turned that team into an NFC championship contender overnight. You also look at how he turned San Diego State and Stanford into powerhouses during his coaching tenures in there. Jim Harbaugh has been wildly successful everywhere where he's been. You can't label Jim Harbaugh without saying that he's a winner. Jim Harbaugh is an awesome head coach, and the Los Angeles Chargers just made the best hire that they could have possibly made on the market. I'm liking the roster of the Chargers in general. I just didn't like their win-loss record last year, but that's not because of the roster. That was because of poor coaching. You look at how Brandon Staley was the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers and how he managed to blow games for the Chargers like it was nothing. There's a reason why Brandon Staley is one of the worst coaches that have ever coached on an NFL sideline, and for the Los Angeles Chargers to even have won 5 games in spite of Brandon Staley, I gotta be really impressed with that Chargers roster. Now that they got a real coach in place, I think this Chargers team can contend for the playoffs right away. I think this Chargers team can even contend for the AFC West division. Don't be surprised if the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be contending for the AFC West right away. I think the Chargers are already going to be better than the Broncos next year. Obviously, you look at the Broncos mess that's happened with Russell Wilson, they're going to end up cutting him. Denver, they seem like they don't really have a plan at the quarterback position. And then you got the Raiders. Yeah, they hired Antonio Pierce. I like that they hired Pierce. I thought he had a strong finish to the year, but I'm not too high on the Raiders long term, mainly because of the fact that they don't have a quarterback. Who knows, maybe they get their quarterback in next year's draft or whatever the case may be. Hey, maybe they could be contenders in the AFC West, but they're not better than the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. And obviously the big threat in the AFC West is the Kansas City Chiefs. In my mind, you could look at the Kansas City Chiefs as the Ohio State of the AFC West. Obviously, we know that Jim Harbaugh, his biggest obstacle was getting past Ohio State. So So obviously, when you compare Jim Harbaugh to the Kansas City Chiefs, it might take a while for the Los Angeles Chargers to overcome the obstacle of getting past the Kansas City Chiefs just because of the fact that they got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But just because they got those two doesn't mean that the Chargers can't compete. This is the NFL, not college. In college, you need recruiting and you need talent in order to match that level. Michigan just didn't have that compared to Ohio State, at least not at that time in the beginning. Obviously, you look at the NFL level, the talent is more diverse. The talent is more split up. When you look at this Los Angeles Chargers roster, they've got talent all over the place. They got talent on defense. They got guys that can rush the passer. They've got guys that can intercept the football pretty effectively. They've got guys on offense that can catch the football pretty good. They can run the football. Obviously, Justin Herbert, he's a great quarterback. I think the Los Angeles Chargers, they just need to draft a power back in the draft and then they'll be pretty much set. I know Justin Herbert, he hasn't really played in a Jim Harbaugh type of offense, but that doesn't mean he can't do it. I believe he can do it at a high level because Justin Herbert is the kind of guy that can play at any scheme at any given time. Look, Justin Herbert succeeded with Anthony Lynn and Brandon Staley as his head coaches. How hard could it be for him to be successful with Jim Harbaugh? I'm getting mad about the slander that Justin Herbert has been receiving in recent seasons because we all know that Justin Herbert is carrying the Los Angeles Chargers on his back and that without Justin Herbert, the Los Angeles Chargers would be one of the most irrelevant franchises in the NFL. And we all know that Justin Herbert has a can for an arm. I'm actually really excited for this hire from the perspective of Justin Herbert because now I'm finally going to get a running game. Now I can hand the football off and whenever I do get to throw the football, the throwing lanes are going to be open because everybody's going to be committed to stopping the run where I can go ahead and say, okay, now I can take my one-on-one matchups on the outside. Maybe I can throw a deep pass off play action or whatever. The case being, Justin Herbert is going to be set up for success. And I believe the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be contenders in the AFC sooner rather than later. As far as the real reason why Jim Harbaugh was hired by the Los Angeles Chargers, well, I think it's because of the fact that the Spanos, which is the Chargers ownership, was tired of being labeled as cheap. We all know that the Spanos have been criticized for not caring about winning. And obviously they wanted to shut their critics up because when you hire a head coach like Jim Harbaugh, that means you care about winning. That means you care about seeing the best possible product on the football field. And I believe that's the real reason why the Spanos did it. I don't think they necessarily did it because they thought they could become a Super Bowl contender overnight, because we all know that the Spanos, their first priority isn't about winning. Their first priority is about being as cheap as possible, but they wanted to shake off that reputation. Well, they just shook off that reputation by hiring Jim Harbaugh because I am fired up for it. And obviously Chargers fans should be fired up for this move as well. I believe that Jim Harbaugh is the best coach that the Chargers have ever had in my lifetime. I've lived on this earth for 21 years. I don't believe the Los Angeles Chargers have had a coach this good in this long. That means the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be contenders sooner rather than later because they have talent on the roster. They just need a good coach to push them over the top. Not even necessarily good coaching, but they just need an actual professional coach that knows what he's doing. That was not the case with Anthony Lynn. That was not the case with Brandon Staley, but now they have that with Jim Harbaugh because now they have the franchise quarterback, they have the franchise head coach, they got a talented defense. Yes, they underachieved this past season, but that doesn't mean they don't have talent. And obviously the receivers are going to be back. Keenan Allen's going to be ready to go next year. You look at how Mike Williams is going to be healthy heading into next year. Hopefully Quentin Johnson ends up getting fixed for the Chargers because he had a disappointing year, but who knows, maybe with Jim Harbaugh he can turn his career around. I kind of have doubts about that, but it is what it is. You look at this Los Angeles Chargers roster and you have to say that's actually a pretty talented roster. And of course you can't forget about Austin Eckler. He can run the football as well. I just think they need to draft another running back. That way they can have a power back that can run through a tough offensive line because the Chargers offensive line is actually pretty good. They just need to be coached properly. If they get these guys coached properly, they're going to be playing high-level football for years to come. I expect the Los Angeles Chargers to make the playoffs by the end of year 2, if not by the end of year 1, because they're going to be contending sooner rather than later. We all know that Jim Harbaugh is capable of quick turnarounds. Hell, that's why he's built himself a reputation of. Jim Harbaugh is known for quick fixes, and we all know that he's a proven winner at every level that he has been with. We all know that Jim Harbaugh is capable of getting the most out of his teams. I like his fire, I like his passion, I like his desire to win. We don't have enough coaches that care about winning, but Jim Harbaugh cares about winning, and that's what the Los Angeles Chargers need. They needed a head coach that cared about winning, and Jim Harbaugh cares about winning. And when you have a head coach that cares about winning, you're going to get good results for your football team. And I believe the Los Angeles Chargers are capable of turning themselves into a 10 or 11 win team come next season, because that's what Jim Harbaugh does. All Jim Harbaugh does is win, and winning is the name of the game. I love that Jim Harbaugh got hired by the Los Angeles Chargers. They're going to be contenders in the AFC sooner rather than later. So that is why the Chargers absolutely made a home run move in hiring Jim Harbaugh, as the Chargers will be major contenders in the AFC sooner rather than later. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.